I've visited Paris more than a few times. In fact, Paris has played a huge role in my life as a stylist and fashion editor. It's been the backdrop to countless trips for photo shoots and fashion shows and market appointments. But no two trips are ever the same. The first few days I've spent here during Men's Fashion Week have been a little different to my regularly scheduled programming. So far, we've explored the link between watches and fashion and how they maybe aren't so different from one another. On this episode of Watches in the Wild, I'll be focusing on things from a design perspective. I'll chat with some creative minds about their experiences working in fashion and jewellery, explore a clothing collection with a unique source of inspiration, and discover the ways in which some watch brands are achieving a perfect balance between style and timekeeping. Between the architecture, the food, the fashion, and everything else in between, it's no wonder Paris is on the top of the travel destination list, not just in Europe, but in the entire world. With its historic landmarks, scenic gardens, and grand museums, there's something for everyone here. And today, I'm meeting with a woman who designs high-end jewellery so bold that it caught the attention of some of the most famous people in the design and entertainment industries.
Given that there's like such a cool merger between fine jewelry and watches and designers who love watches, I feel like there's definitely room in that space, and that's kind of where I'm always open to.
Nadine Gurn has made a name for herself in the luxury space as a one-woman show running her own jewellery brand since 2015. Her designs have been worn by a number of famous personalities like Beyoncé and Drake and even Karl Lagerfeld. And for Men's Fashion Week, she collaborated with Pharrell Williams and Sarah Andelman of Colette notoriety to design some exclusive pieces for Jupiter, a digital auction house founded by Pharrell himself.
You're very well known for your iconic jewelry designs, including this ring, which is a stackable hamburger.
Yes.
So you've literally got lettuce, bun, it's crazy.
We have a veggie burger and meat version.
Yeah. Okay, oh my God.
But the one for Jupiter is definitely meat with a lot of cheese.
Yeah, and then you have fries too, right?
Exactly.
So you're here for Jupiter, but I mean, you're pretty deep into the watch thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So how did this all start? Where did the kind of collection begin?
It's funny, since I was a kid, I was always into watches, and we're four children, and none of my siblings are into watches, so it's an interesting thing because it started, I was 10. I had my first Casio, and then I had my G-Shock.
Baby G.
Yeah. And I had it in multiple colors, and that was the most exciting thing. So I've always just been a collector. And then gradually I would start stealing my dad's watches and kind of change the strap and make it my own. And then as I was able to purchase more, my collection started to grow.
Yeah.
But every watch for me is something I just fall in love with, and it can be $15 or it could be a really nice watch.
Yeah.
And I kind of wear them interchangeably.
Nadine brought along just one small part of her swatch collection, which I noticed was very in line with her aesthetic.
I think this is the most fun you can really have with a swatch collection. First of all, when this popped up on your Instagram, I feel like people went crazy for it. Because it's just nostalgia gone wild.
100%.
How would you wear this?
I would just stack it in the summer, playfully with other bracelets.
Got it.
And so this for me is super easy. It does match more my aesthetic with regards to jewelry, because I love this everyday items that reminds you of your childhood, that's colorful, that's unexpected. So this one really is the vibe, I would say, of my brand.
It's very you.
Yeah.
Well, it's
thank
also
you.
candy, and you're like very
And I
into...
love food.
Yeah. But so this one, obviously, we love. But this is new. When I saw it on your Instagram, I thought it was the vintage version.
So I fell in love. So when I see some pieces, I always like screenshot it. And I had fallen in love with the vintage version of that race car drivers used to wear.
Yeah.
But their interpretation of it today, I don't think is nice. It's like super thick, it's too big. But the color combination here, I find very fun for the summer.
And then wait, I have like a lot of feelings about Moon Swatch, but this is by far the chicest iteration of this I've seen. Like, you put it on a croc strap.
Yeah, I couldn't stand the straps.
The strap.
That was the first thing that had to go.
I mean, but this has like changed the whole watch. You've matched the strap to the dial, but it's like, only you would do this. And then, what do we have here dangling in your hand?
Well, so this watch is perfect because I rarely look in mirrors.
Yeah.
And so this is the best way to get like hit two birds with one stone. So my first watch crush, I think, was Carolina and AP's collaboration with the brush gold. I just thought it was a great merging of fine jewelry and watches. And so this has been my baby.
It's so perfect.
It's very beautiful, but it's very strong. So it's not a stackable watch. I would say it takes away from it versus like these, I think, are like much funner and easy, and I wouldn't wear it alone. I would stack it with some of my fine jewelry to kind of hit on that high-low style.
For Nadine, it's not so much about the movement or the history as it is about the design when it comes to choosing a watch, an opinion that we definitely share. And while watches themselves shouldn't necessarily be separated by gender, men and women do, on the whole, tend to gravitate towards different styles, whether it's in clothes, jewelry, or watches. So when women like Carolina Bucci have the opportunity to collaborate with big-name watch brands like Audemars Piguet, it really makes an impact. It's a woman designer speaking to a woman consumer.
There's something about Carolina, she like gets it so right every time, and I think it's like, maybe we should bring in more sort of women jewelry designers into the watch space.
So now you're opening a huge subject, which I'm 100% in agreement with. I think that there is definitely room for me or for someone whose DNA and aesthetic combines well with a brand or a house to create one-off or unique pieces. Because I do think that watch companies are too risk averse. They kind of stand on their typical Royal Oak, or whether it's, the Nautilus. They won't take that many risks. And for me, I just think like we're in a time where you should start taking risks. And given that there's like such a cool merger between fine jewelry and watches and designers who love watches, I feel like there's definitely room in that space. And that's kind of where I'm always open to.
I think that there's also absolutely nothing wrong with wearing your watch like jewelry. And that's why someone like you, someone like Carolina, like, you get it. And so I think you would just understand how to like make a product for a woman. And also, like, that's okay. Like, women can like different things to men. It's not like
100%. And I think more of these watch brands are actually trying to bring in these women.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's a great time to be a designer. Why? Because women have more disposable income. Women are now buying jewelry for themselves. They're buying watches for themselves. It's not just a gift thing, right? And so there's this new clientele that's coming full throttle who have a very strong opinion and a very strong aesthetic. And they'll look up to one person, whether it's a designer, whether it's Rihanna, whoever it is, and see kind of how they mix and match, and that's going to influence their purchasing behavior. So there's a huge market out there that they're just starting to tap on. And so watches are never going to go away.
Nadine's style really speaks to me as someone who also mixes and matches high and low, like wearing my Bulgari Serpenti with a t-shirt and shorts. But speaking of mixing high and low, what about brands that sit somewhere in between? The answer to my question and my next destination were a quick metro ride away.
We are here at the Acne Studios Spring Summer 24 presentation for Men's Week. We're about to go and look at a lot of clothes, maybe find some watches, and just get some drinks, have a good time.
The diversity in clothing and accessories here reminded me of my conversation with Nadine and about how watch brands tend to play it safe with design. Thankfully, watch brands like Richard Mille and Audemars Piguet and Cartier have been experimenting with more unique case shapes and dial colors. But a lot of brands tend to rely on classic, dare I say it, staid designs time and time again for new releases. And while the formula clearly still works, I personally think it would be interesting to see designers branch out of their comfort zone, especially when the inspiration strikes, like it often does in fashion.
The thing is, the bright colors came from all of the Venetian islands he went to and things around.
Yeah.
Were really inky blues, and he loved like the clash of colors because it just made it so much more like exuberant, exciting, reinvigorating, and it kind of re-energized the collection.
Yeah.
So this is why we have a lot of things, and we've got a new logo brand here with the A&S.
I mean, I think pink and green is the best combo.
Why not?
It's watermelon.
It's watermelon. It's watermelon.
Yeah.
You know, we have printed denim, which we'll go into more.
Yeah. DJ started.
The DJ started.
Acne Studios was founded in 1996 by its creative director Johnny Johansson and specializes in clothing and accessories inspired by his interests in art, photography, and contemporary culture. Despite being a slightly more contemporary ready-to-wear brand, Acne Studios sits in a neat little spot that borders into luxury fashion.
Even though this is huge, it's kind of fab.
As much as I'd love to spend more time touching pretty much everything and trying on pretty much every piece of the Acne Studios collection, I decided to visit another showroom where the jewellery on display is inspired by shapes and form. This incredible collection of bracelets, earrings, and other pieces comes from the mind of a designer with origins in the fashion industry.
I never wanted to put my name on a label of a clothes that I did. I didn't care. On jewelry, it was different because I really felt I had something very personal to say.
Charlotte Chenet has nearly 20 years of experience in fashion, having worked at Balenciaga under Nicolas Ghesquière for 10 of those years as a ready-to-wear clothing designer. During her time there, she was actually introduced to watches through Ghesquière, who is now the women's creative director at Louis Vuitton.
I did a watch actually when I was working at Balenciaga.
Oh, you did?
Yes, we worked on a really funny watch with Nicolas that we made in Switzerland.
Oh, cool.
A super beautiful one. It was really 80s. It was a rectangle, but it was a really nice process. I really enjoyed doing it.
Yeah.
I went to Switzerland like, I don't know, 10 times.
Yeah.
So this was my first entry into the watch world.
Okay. I mean, that's a kind of a crazy entry. Hang on a sec.
Yeah.
Going through Nicolas at Balenciaga, that's your first entry into the
Yes,
watch world?
yes.
That's like...
I had no clue about watch. I remember.
That's like fashion and watch, like...
yeah, having a baby.
Having a baby, exactly.
Since founding her own namesake jewellery brand in 2015, Charlotte has never looked back. And much like many other watch enthusiasts I've met in Paris so far, her collection is truly a reflection of her personal style.
And I think you're super obviously focused on shape and form.
Obsessed.
Yeah, and so that kind of parlays into the watch thing.
Yes.
And I was so happy to find out that you were into watches because I really kind of admire your approach to design. So I'm not surprised that you have this one on the table.
The mini baignoire.
The mini baignoire.
Yes.
I mean, Cartier are sort of the kings of shape.
They are.
When it comes to cases.
Yes. I think this is one of the objects that I would have loved to be the mother.
Yeah.
I would have loved to design this.
I mean, it's very you, I think, actually, the curved
thank you.
lines. What can you say about the baignoire? Like, why does it speak to you?
What I like about the baignoire and what I hope my jewelry says is that they are very, very simple, but yet very timeless.
Yeah.
So it's the idea of finding the very good balance between something that is like, oh wow, it's new and I kind of want it, it's really desirable, but
Yeah.
I really hope that in 10 years we can say the same.
It's just so perfect. So I think what I really want to talk about,
This one.
yeah, because so Chibuga,
Yes.
vintage, it's beautiful, obviously, I'm biased. Want to tell me a little bit about maybe how you got this, why you're attracted to it?
I got it, I mean, still it was a present. I gave some clues about like, I would like this watch, and
Yeah.
I bought it at PAD in
Yeah,
Paris.
yeah.
I don't know, I feel to me, it feels like a, so it's a serpentine, it's
Yeah.
going around, but
Yeah.
I have this bracelet
Yeah.
that I did like at the very beginning of the collection, and it's called the Ivy bracelet. And it's to me, it's like a yarn that is going around the hand, and it's still very comfortable. And I have something in this watch that I feel are quite linked.
Yeah.
When I put them together, actually, it's almost feel like it's only one piece that is going around my hand, and then my wrist and my arm.
Yeah, I feel like there's this kind of really interesting thing going on with your jewelry where it's like very fluid.
Yes.
Yeah, like there's
Very
a lot
curvy.
of yes, like ergonomic, fluid. I mean, and that's kind of sexy in a way, and that's why I think Serpenti is so sexy, because it's like, you know, it's like
It's very sensual. It has this connection with the body, and
Yeah.
it's kind of almost interacting. Because this, when it's not on, it's very beautiful, but
Yeah.
it's totally different.
different
Yeah.
object. Yeah, and I think there are a lot of people in the jewelry space and obviously the fashion space who are experimental with form, which you don't see as much in watches, aside from like the Cartiers of the world. So why do you maybe think that is? Why do you think?
I don't know. I feel like people in the watch, they are kind of going to something quite classic. It has to be something that you're wearing every day. And I feel like you can go crazy for maybe pieces like this, because I wear it a lot, but let's be honest, I'm not wearing this every day.
No.
So I feel that when it comes to watch, it has a function. It's not only a jewelry. It all, like, you know, a car needs to drive you
Yeah,
somewhere.
yeah.
So it has to be beautiful, but it also has a function when
Yeah.
it's functioning, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I guess this is maybe why
Yeah.
there is something more grounded and
Yeah.
maybe less experimental. But I would love to be able to do like an experimental jewelry watch.
I mean, I would be here for it. Yeah, I would love you to do that
To
too.
be continued.
You heard it here first, watch brands. Collaborations with Nadine Gurn and Charlotte Chenet are on the table. And who knows, maybe one day I'll be the one writing about their collaborations. But if there's one brand that's made a name for itself as a form-focused designer in the watch space, it's most definitely Piaget. Piaget was founded in 1847 in Switzerland as a manufacturer of watch movements. But over the course of 170 years in the business, the brand has expanded into much more than just watches. It has a rich history of combining timepieces with innovative jewelry designs, something that still persists to this day.
We have a constant dialogue
Yeah.
between past and present, and not only watches but also jewelry.
Yeah.
It's the balance between what is still possible to do nowadays without just repeating the past.
This is Alain Bourgeot. He's an officer of patrimony at Piaget. He's the perfect person to talk to about the heritage of the brand and the unique design language Piaget brings to both jewelry and watches.
So, Alain, I wanted to ask you a bit about how maybe jewelry design can inform watch design, and how maybe the jeweler's approach to shape and, you know, texture and curvature, how that can be applied into sort of maybe more traditional watchmaking.
I think it's less rigid now than maybe 10 years ago. 10 years ago it was a bit more separated.
Yeah.
But now they want, Benjamin, our CEO,
Yeah.
he wants to have something more homogeneous.
Yeah. Homogeneous.
Homogeneous in
Yeah.
in the creations, not only on one side jewelry and on the other side watches.
Yeah. And do you think, for instance, like I imagine that you have, you know, the watchmakers and then you have the sort of jewelers in the company. Is there a dialogue between them too?
There's a dialogue between the creation, the marketing.
Yeah,
because
of course.
The marketing has a lot of expectations.
Yes.
And also the jurors who said, you designed something, it's maybe not possible, or maybe it's too difficult, or it will take too much time. And yes, there is a constant dialogue, not only with me, but with all the involved persons.
Yeah, all the parties.
Yeah.
Do you think as well that there is sort of an appetite now for more unusual shape, more sort of...
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they definitely want something that is close to our DNA.
Yeah.
That can tell a story.
Yeah.
And something which can make a connection with our history and our private collection or previous creations.
Right. And I think you've got to look forward. You cannot just always be replicating what you made in the past.
No, we are not delighted at this idea, because it would be just go back.
Yeah.
As if we have nothing to say, nothing to create anymore. No, we have a lot of things.
I think you got a lot to say.
Yes, and thanks to our past.
Yeah.
Piaget has an extensive collection of very fashion-forward pieces, like the polo, that emerged during the latter half of the 20th century. And according to Alain, it's partially thanks to Piaget's dedication to observing fashion trends of the time, like splashes of colour and high-contrast designs.
The turning point was 57. From that moment when we launched that 9P movement, handwoven movement, it was totally different. And in 1963, that movement gave to the dial a new existence, and they decided to introduce color.
Yeah.
Because at that time, watchmaking was a bit sad and boring. It was a bit gray, white, and black.
Yeah.
And they decided to introduce the rainbow before
the rainbow.
Before the
rainbow before
but
the rainbow.
It was really something not only different, but unexpected.
I think that's so interesting because all week I've been speaking about how the fashion industry is much faster and always looking ahead, and the watch industry is often either asleep or behind or looking to the past.
And for us, fashion was completely mixed with our creation.
Yeah.
Just to give an example, Valentin Piaget used to send the creators, the designers, to the fashion show in Paris in the 60s, 70s.
To the salon to see the couture shows.
They wanted the creations to be completely close to the period, to the era.
Yeah.
So fashion and we have at Piaget two main inspirations.
Yeah.
Nature, because La Côte-aux-Fées, the origin village, is in the mountains where nature is over powerful.
Yeah.
And couture.
Yeah.
And for example, look at that cuff watch.
Gorgeous.
The treatment of gold is like a piece of cloth.
Yeah.
Piaget's success can also be attributed to the fact that their designers valued form and function together, whereas other watch houses were more heavily invested in engineering and what happens on the inside of a watch.
Mr. Piaget always tells me that a Piaget creation is a jewel which gives time.
Okay, I like that.
Even this is a jewel. If there is no diamond, but it's a jewel.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and here the integration, even this one, even with the engraving of the bracelet, we still make that kind of engraving nowadays.
Yeah.
The Palace Decor, it's exactly the same.
And is the jewelry sort of component, like the cases and the bracelets and the metal work, is that done in Switzerland?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah,
Not just the movements of the watches, the whole thing. Okay.
The movement remains in La Côte-aux-Fées, where it was origin. And Piaget used to buy a lot of different workshops from the early 60s just to control the whole production. Cases, bracelets, necklace, all the chain. This is totally handmade. And we have all these different know-how
All together.
under
One roof.
Yeah, one watch.
This is like
Still now in the manufacturer in Geneva. This one is interesting because you have everything in one watch. You have the gold bracelet.
Yeah.
You have the shape in the shape because you have the cushion case.
Yeah.
The square bezel. You have the stone dies and the tracking movement. This one is the automatic one, the 12P, launched in 1960. And at that time it was the thinnest in the world.
Pretty crazy.
There were experts in the Basel Fair who said, it's too thin, it can't work. So it was really something beyond expectations.
Looking ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always. Mr. Piaget told me, I'm sure we sold some pieces, we lost some money because we were not so obsessed by timing.
Yeah.
So we lose some money, we earn on another.
Nothing is sort of rigid, it's fluid.
No.
Yeah. A lot like, the actual jewelry itself, it's, I think
it's different.
It's different, and I'm like always sort of intrigued to pick up and touch the vintage Piaget because it's like all about the texture and it's very tactile. And
I remember the designer Jean-Claude. He didn't say it's a nice watch. He said it's a nice watch.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to touch and feel.
There's just something special about being able to touch a piece of fabric or handle a watch before buying it.
Wow, this is
absolutely amazing.
Paris is undoubtedly like one of my favorite cities in the world. I think during Fashion Week, it's almost like Watches and Wonders where everybody sort of meets and connects and, hangs out and goes to a party, has dinner together. It's like really like the ideal time to be a fly on the wall for sort of this kind of like industry moment. And it's a great opportunity to speak with people in the industry, whether they're based in Paris, whether they've, flown in for the shows, and kind of get a real sense of what the industry is about. And I think this is as personal as it gets for me. My MO these days is really to explain that watches can be read through a lens of style. Paris is, the fashion capital or whatever you want to call it, but what I've noticed over these past few days, or even really just getting here, is that I've seen a lot of people wearing watches on the streets, at events, and there's a lot to learn here just about watch culture in general.
On the next episode of Watches in the Wild, I'll take a tour through a popular flea market in search of vintage treasure. I'll speak with some passionate collectors about their unique experiences as fashion and watch enthusiasts, and discuss the importance of in-person discovery and socialization in an age of internet dependency.